We're gonna go ahead and get started, and it is Tuesday, February 12th at 5:09 p.m. It's maintenance and development meeting. I have on the line Counselor Walsh and also Laura Walsh, who works for the Parks Department. Laura, thanks for being on this call. We did receive a letter from the Bay Area Neighborhood Council. I'm not sure if you received it or had a chance to get eyes on it.
I haven't seen the letter, but I did was informed of it from Director Ash.
Okay. So they outlined some several concerns about it. So I just want to give you the opportunity to speak to those concerns so that way we can get it on the record. I do have, a couple follow-up questions that I may have, but I just want to give you the floor at this time.
Oh, sure. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hopefully you're able to see. I put together just a couple overhead images and things. Just to confirm, we're talking about the path that's adjacent to the Bay Path Cemetery in Blunt Park. If you're coming from the neighborhood off of Blunt Park Road, and if you're coming from Roosevelt Ave, it's at the light for the Ray Jordan Center in Putnam, which is
Mhm.
also known as Blunt Park Road. So that's the
Yes.
path in question. It's a wooded path along the edge of the cemetery that has been turned. It's like a boot path that the neighborhood and folks are using to connect over to the park and then also over to Roosevelt Ave in Putnam. So that's just the general area of where we are. This section here is the Bay Path Cemetery.
Yeah.
And then over here across the road is the state swimming pool. And just off, not in the image, but just a little bit north there is the Ray Jordan Center.
Yeah.
So some of the concerns we have for this path, for paving it, it's things to just pave a path. It may sound in theory simple enough to do, but there are some considerations here that we need to look at. Sorry, I was moving the wrong button here. So this is just an image of the path if you were looking from Blunt Park Road into the neighborhood with the Bay Path Cemetery on your right. As you can see, there is a granite stone here in the path. That we are unclear if that is part of the actual Bay Path Cemetery, which is here you can see on the right-hand side of the screen with the and then the pine trees here. So before we're able to do any type of like earthwork there, we would need to do a study to ensure that this slab is not related to the cemetery. There are about we just did some work here at Bay Path Cemetery with a CPA grant. There are about just about 900 individuals that were interred at Bay Path Cemetery over the years. It was from I want to say around 1871 or 75, somewhere in there, to 1951
Mm.
that this Bay Path Cemetery was an active burial site. It was formerly known as a Potter's Field and was renamed Bay Path Cemetery. So we would need to do our due diligence there to ensure that this path, that this slab isn't actually an extension of the cemetery and that there's nobody interred there. So that
Yeah.
would be the first step. So we'd have to do some surveying and then an archaeological archaeological study just to confirm that. We're probably having to do some additional ground penetrating radar, which is what we can use to see if there are any burial sites there or things like that. This is not to say that this granite slab is from a burial, but we do know that there are crypts in Bay Path Cemetery. This may be left over from road work. It may be left over from the cemetery work. We just need to confirm that before we start digging up any of the earthwork. So
Yeah.
that's kind of been factored into the budget. As you can see, there's a stand of pine trees here. Pine trees generally have shallow roots, so any earthwork that we were doing would disturb these trees, which would most likely mean that they would have to come out. They wouldn't survive with the disturbance of their roots. I put the red lines here as kind of just a rough indication of where the path could go or would be. I'm just gonna scroll down a little bit. And when you are doing a path and converting from a dirt path here to a paved path, some of the things we'd have to look at, and especially if we're making it ADA accessible, would be to make sure it has the proper grading, proper drainage, all of those things. So although the path itself may only be 4 to 5 feet, when you do the layout and the grading and the clearing, you're actually clearing about an additional 3 to 5 feet off the center of the path. So it would kind of bring you right up to that tree line, if not past it, and then into the woods here. There's a little bit more of a clearing on this side of the site. But the main concern is the how close we're encroaching into the cemetery area. Again, we'd have to do a study to confirm that there's nothing outside of that fence line. The chain link fence that was put in is not an original fence to the Bay Path Cemetery. It's been improved multiple times over the years. We're thinking that it was put in back in the 1980s when they did a kind of a revitalization of the cemetery, and they installed a marker there to memorialize the cemetery, and there were some general improvements there. So that's why the fence is there. It doesn't mean that's the actual boundary of the cemetery. So we would need to confirm that again. And then one other kind of concern that we have is looking at Blunt Park Road, which I believe from most recent GIS mapping, from what I could tell, I wasn't able to get out there before all the snow to confirm, is that I believe there's been new sidewalks put in here on Blunt Park Road. And I think this is Amore Drive. This house that's right here that's the main abutter to the park. Originally it looked like their driveway is what people were using to get kind of like the just the first part of your driveway where you kind of come off the street, you go up the little ramp, and then there's your driveway. It looked like people were using that as the main access point because there wasn't a sidewalk. So, but on more recent GIS images, I think there's been sidewalk work done. We would need to confirm that. There does look like there's been a new ADA tactile warning strip put in on this corner of the sidewalk. There is not one on this side, nor is there one down on the end where the path would meet Blunt Park Road. And that's a little bit concerning because generally for people who are use the tactile warning strips, that really is indicating to them that you are coming to a road, you're coming to a crossing, and then when you get across and then you feel that tactile strip again is indicating that you are now back on a pedestrian area. On the Blunt Park Road side of the park, there is no sidewalk and people would be coming right into the road. So there would have to be, there would need to be some investigations there, or at some point, maybe even a sidewalk put in which would be separate, on this kind of side of the park that's on the, closer to the pool. We wouldn't be able to do too much, sidewalk work in front of the cemetery, again, for those, reasons, previously stated about the boundaries of the cemetery. So those are just some of our initial concerns. I know that people use this area to cut through and, we want people to feel safe and everything. I also don't know if the abutters, mainly anyone that's adjacent to this path, if they've been brought into the conversation as well. So we would need to confirm that too.
Yeah, that's gonna be one of my questions about or comment, I should say, about the abutters. So thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Laura, is that all? Do you have anything else? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Sorry, I keep using the wrong slide button to put down.
Well, I'd have to say that's a lot of concerns.
Yeah.
For that path. And I'm wondering, I don't know if you would know, LeVar, are there laws that protect cemeteries? I mean, I know there's, it's certainly not an Indian burial ground, which you could never
Yeah.
But are there laws that would protect that
I would,
cemetery?
yeah, I would think so. And that I guess we can get an opinion from the law department. But that's a great point. But we could definitely check into that. But a lot of concerns from the Bay Area Neighborhood Council were, like you mentioned, the our children that come from Central Putnam, Tech, that area. Um, and also the lighting. Did Laura, if I'm not mistaken, did that get addressed, or did I see a different area? Did some of the lighting get addressed? Do you know? I could be
There's no lighting in there,
okay.
no. And
All
that
right.
wasn't, sorry, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I just threw together some rough costs, just knowing that the additional surveying, the additional archaeological study, and then design to make sure that if we were, let's say that this was to move forward into construction, we need to make sure that we have, the gradings and the layout and everything so that it is accessible to people of all abilities. So factoring in design, um, and then the actual construction cost, we're thinking at least $150,000 to pave this area and put it into a walkway of some sort. We would probably do, if you're going to invest in making it a walkway, it'd probably stone dust would not really be an option here just because of the, like you're saying, the amount of foot traffic it could have. That would just lead to additional maintenance things down the road. Stone dust is great, but it doesn't always hold up, especially in our New England weathers when you have a lot of snow, a lot of different things. There it can create ruts in the path. So probably if it was to be developed, it would most likely be a paved path.
Okay. All right. I see Counselor Hurst, you hand up. You have the floor, Counselor Hurst.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you. Seems to be pretty entailed. Something that we, think is simple ends up being something that is extremely complicated and difficult to achieve. I guess my question to you, and I appreciate your work on this matter, is CPA funding. Is this something that could be eligible for CPA funding?
I don't think it would meet the criteria, mainly with CPA. They're looking to fund more like recreational amenities themselves, not necessarily access to the recreation, if that makes sense. So, or considering this more of a maintenance type of thing. So that would have to be clarified with Bob McCarroll and CPA. But my initial thought would be no, just because it's really a new walkway versus, because we would not recommend putting benches in here or picnic tables just due to the cut through nature of that, and also with respect to the cemetery and things that are there. So it would not necessarily the best spot for amenities. So I don't think CPA would fund that.
But it's not part of the park. Did I miss that earlier? I very well
No, it
may.
is part of the park. It's just that CPA is very particular of what the ordinance of CPA covers. So that would
Okay.
be clarification from him. But I know in the past, just this isn't necessarily considered. It's connecting people from the neighborhood to a section of the park, but it's not connecting you from like the neighborhood directly to the parking lot, or excuse me, like the playground area, or it's not improving a walking path through the recreational amenities that then, connects you to everything. So I think we would
Got it.
need definite clarification from Bob on that, but my initial thought would be no.
Thank you.
Yep. I have been
Uh,
wrong
Thank you.
before.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Hurst. Laura, a quick question, because I just want to point out this for the record from the neighborhood council. Some of their concerns, they have 6 concerns. I just want to make sure you're aware of it. I'm pretty sure Director Ash did receive the letter, but they're requesting, and this was back on January 7th, and went to the mayor, immediate snow and ice removal from both pass-through areas. So I guess this area is being neglected, and again, it's causing great concern for our children that pass through. Um, Again, regular winter maintenance throughout the remainder of the season. Temporary lighting solution if possible, given the early darkness. clarification about which department is responsible for maintaining these pathways so we can ensure accountability going forward. Maintenance of any brush and overgrowth on both pathways going forward. And then a plan, which I guess you provided for us today, a plan or timeline that can be implemented to bring safety improvements to both areas, including proper walkway, paving, or stone dust, which you just mentioned, and some form of lighting for safety. So I just want to call those into on the record for this call that these were 6 points that the neighborhood council pointed out, and it was from their president, Gwendolyn Smith. So I want to make sure that's on the record.
Thank you. Was there, you mentioned the letter mentions or references both paths. Was there another path?
Councilor Hurst may know better than me. That I think there's another path, but I'll clarify. I'm not Councilor Hurst, do you know?
I do not know. I do
Okay.
not know. I thought it was really just the path that you were
Okay.
referring to, but
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2, so that way if it's 1, we can always say.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's just maybe this one, and maybe it's in both directions.
It might be. Well, I'm gonna say 2 for the record, just in case.
Yeah, can I ask, have there been accidents there or safety concerns? Is that part of an issue for this?
I don't, for me, I don't necessarily know if there's anything active, but I do know, as far as just being an athlete after hours, just walking through, it could pose.
Right.
I think it's for us to be more proactive than reactive, where I'm gathering from this. So I don't think I have anything in front of me saying this happened. But for me, it's let's be proactive. We're always reactive to certain situations. So.
I don't think from what I can gather from looking at different things, I don't know that path was ever formally like identified or intended to be a path. I think the road just kind of ends and then the park's there. And then over time, people using it as a cut through has turned it into more of what feels like a formalized path, which is maybe part of the reason why they're wondering why it may not get shoveled or snow removal, but it's a dirt path in the woods, and it's not necessarily something that is considered, I guess, an active. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think it's become a path for people using it, but it's not like an official connection. Does that make sense?
Understood. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll definitely check with the neighborhood council to get clarification. So what will be the next steps for us with this? I see you, Councilor Hurst. So what will be our next steps with this? I'll definitely send you this letter as well, but can you share that presentation you gave to us so that way we can get over to the neighborhood council as well?
Sure. Yeah. I think the next step, other than identifying the funding sources and where this could come from, is you would have to do survey of the area and then follow that up with the archaeological survey just to ensure that pathway does not have any additional burials from the cemetery. We need to confirm that, because if we do find out that it is part of, that there were some burials there, that changes everything, and we wouldn't really be able to use it as a path. If it turns out that they're not there, then it's a more defined boundary, and we can go from there. But that's the first initial step would be the survey and the study.
So now, does that come from the neighborhood council to request that, or does it come from city council or counselor, or are you going to bring that to Director Ash?
I'll bring that back to Director Ash. I think we'd have to find the funding source for those studies as well, and then go from there.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Councilor Hurst.
Just really quickly, didn't I see in these flurry of back and forth that that you all have done some things already? I mean, somebody, whether it's DPW or the Parks Department, I could have swore I read something.
We have a couple things going on at Blunt Park. Obviously, there had been the recent renovations to the tennis courts and the playground, all of that area. We also have a current project at the softball diamonds and the walking track and the fitness course. So that's being funded through a PARC grant and construction will finish this spring. So there's a new parking lot there. There's a new walking track, new fitness station, and all of that's getting updated. And then you also had the CPA funded improvements to Bay Path Cemetery. So there was some new fencing, some landscaping, signage, things like that. And then as far as I know, those are the only projects that have committed actual funds or like work on site. I do think that there's this conversation with the neighborhood has been ongoing, and I believe there had been possibly, don't quote me, but I'm thinking maybe Mass in Motion, or there's another group. I'm blanking on the person's name. Anna, is there an Anna Kiswell? Works out of Health and Human Services. I think that they had done some work with the neighborhood to kind of conceptualize what they would want to see at the path. And I think that's where some of those ideas were coming from. But as for moving it from conceptual into an actual project, I don't think that's occurred yet.
Yeah. Counselor Hurst, I think I'm with you. I think I see something too,
Mr.
Counselor.
Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw something that you all actually, maybe it was DPW, that actually somebody did some level of work regarding this path and appeasing some of the needs of the neighborhood council. But what would be helpful for me, Mr. Chair, is that if we could have the president of the Bay Area Neighborhood Council, or I believe, I forget which one wrote us.
Bay
Was it the
Area.
Bay Area Neighborhood
Yeah.
Council? If
Yeah.
we could have them present, at a follow-up meeting, that would be super helpful so that they can, maybe we've addressed some of their concerns to where they're all set. But it'd be nice to have them there to attest to what the issues are as they see it.
Yeah, trust me, counselors. I was saying that to Sean. I wanted to make sure they were actually invited because, like, we have this meeting while you're not here. But I have no follow up
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. Got you.
I mean, I'm happy to come and talk to you guys anytime. So, I mean,
Have a meeting right on the path.
Right.
Yeah.
Might have to wait a couple of months.
Right. Thank you, Counselor Hurst. Counselor Walsh.
Yeah, there seems to be something wrong with my screen. All of a sudden, I've gone kind of.
I think you need to turn a light on, Mom.
Oh, maybe that's maybe that's what it is. But you know what I wonder? There used to be a cemetery commission. Is there still an active committee like that? I mean, there must be somebody that knows the boundaries or the whether or not there's an actual crypt there.
Oh, we've done some initial studies of the cemetery area. It just didn't extend into the path, so it would need to be just a.
No, but I mean, is there a person?
I don't think there's an active cemetery commission, or because there used to be, I think, a cemetery commission, and then I believe the cemeteries then came under the control of the park department.
Yes, there was, because your father was on it.
Oh,
yes. So I know that there was one, and there was a cemetery on Cherry Street that he.
Yeah, there's 3 city-owned cemeteries that.
Yes. So I know there was I know there was such a committee. So.
Yes.
All right, Counselor Walsh. Any other comments?
I'm all set. I appreciate all the information we got today. I hope it will be helpful addressing a lot of those concerns.
Me too. Counselor Hurst, you good?
I'm good. Appreciate you, Mr. Chair.
All right. So, Laura, if you could just send that over to us,
Sure.
That presentation, what I'll do is want to get it on the record. I'll follow up with the Bay Area Neighborhood Council, suggested by Counselor Hurst, to see if some of their concerns were appeased, and/or do we need to do a follow-up meeting to get them in a room to.
Okay, that sounds great.
Get some
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I'm going to turn on some lights.
All right, this meeting is adjourned at 5:32 Data Center Development. Thank you all. Appreciate it.